everyone, and welcome back to the Barely Bookish podcast. Today, I am joined by Alex, and we are discussing two Jane Eyre movies. We are going to be talking about 1943 first, and then the 1970 second.
You can't see me, but I've got 2 thumbs up.
For two movies that we're going to talk about. Are they both good? Who's to say?
We are.
Mhm.
We are to say, and we will tell you.
Yeah. Let's just start. We'll start with the 43. We're going to start chronologically.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about the 70s at the end, and then we'll talk about which one we like better. But I think it's going to be very obvious the way I talk about them.
All right, let's go.
All right. So, first note on the 43 version, that storybook entry to get us there. Beautiful.
It's so good.
Princess Bride, same vibe. Love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love a storybook entry.
Yeah, no, one of the things I want to talk about is the inclusions. I'm not super interested in how exact and close to the book was the movie. That's boring. But talking about what movies get the vibes right is interesting to me. And there's something about the fact that they made a Jane Eyre movie with a storybook that does not have the opening of the book in it. It's not.
Yes.
It's just you know what? Already we're doing a reimagining, and I'm here for it. Take any sort of fidelity to the book, huck it out the window. We don't fucking need it. Let's go.
I was I thought I was going crazy for a second because it's written as if it's the actual book. And I was like, this is not.
It's not.
I felt like I needed to go double check myself because I was like, am I?
Well, fully in line with Orson Welles movies to gaslight the shit out of you.
That sounds about right. So they deleted the two little girl cousins.
Yeah, and she's gone.
Gone. She got this blonde, what do they call that? Not the Cupid, but there's something. What do they call cherub? Thank you. Cherub looking child.
Mm-hmm.
They were the most blonde, blue eyed, curly head kid we could get. Let's go make him a raging asshole real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just say what did you think of the costuming? Because rolling into I have a specific thought of what Jane Eyre even as a child the sort of fashion is, and this felt really early to me. It felt like it was set a half a generation before with the all the ruffles on the kid and the hairstyle and the dress that the aunt was wearing. I was like, this is Regency England, and maybe that's right but it felt early. It felt like a weird costuming choice to me.
Yeah, it felt way too. I don't They're not. Well, one to me, I thought that the Reeds were probably firmly middle class, and it made it look like they were rich with all
they were straight up aristocratic in the way they were depicted.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't love the costuming on that one.
I'm with you. It felt very weird to me.
Yeah. I like the costuming on the 70s version a lot better.
Same.
Yeah. However, the one thing I did really like about the 43 version is I liked how they inserted her thoughts as if they're part of the page, even though they're gaslighting us with it. I did like the way they did that.
I agree. The narrative, I appreciate that one of the things they kept in 43 was this sort of notion that this is a story that we're being told by Jane Eyre. That she is the narrator. She is the force of it. That, I mean, for better or worse, it's a... there are things that I felt were kind of weak because of that. But I enjoyed that they kept that heart of the sort of book narrative where like we're listening to
Mm-hmm.
Jane reflect on all of this stuff, whereas in the 73 version it's just like there's a story, we're
Yeah.
just seeing it play out. There's less connection. It's like it's relying on you to have read the book to
Oh
have
yeah.
this connection to Jane Eyre, because otherwise you're like whereas with
Yeah.
43, like immediately it's we have the connection to Jane Eyre because she's telling us the story.
Mm-hmm. I also will say I don't think you could understand 43 if you didn't read the book. Like it
I
doesn't make sense as a movie.
Yeah, the cuts that they made, like the
Mm-hmm.
story stuff that they chose to focus on and then remove,
Mm-hmm.
makes it very, yeah, you have to have the background to see
Mm-hmm.
this movie and fully appreciate what's going on, I think. Which is funny
Yeah.
because my partner Anne saw the movie first.
Really?
Yeah.
That's wild. And it made her want to read the book?
So it made her want to read the book, but she doesn't like the book because she saw the movie.
Hmm.
Because of all of like because, well, we'll get to the spoilers, but like because the
Mm-hmm.
focus is so heavily on Rochester and Jane that all
Yeah.
of the other stuff that happens in the book, she's like, this isn't the story that's fun. Like, I want that ship, damn it.
Mm-hmm. I feel really bad because I'm about to roast the living shit out of the 43 version. I'm not going to lie to you here.
Let's fucking go.
Okay, perfect. Because I didn't like it. I didn't.
Okay, I'm gonna ask why, but I want
Mm-hmm.
like, can we say things that we liked about it first?
Sure.
I like
Yeah.
constructive, being constructive before I
Let me.
drop the hammer.
I'll go. Let's continue going through my notes of the 43 version, and then I'll tell you why I didn't like it at the
All
end.
right, let's do it.
All right. So, in this one, they did keep Brocklehurst there. I did love her being like, "I'm not taking the job, you psycho."
Yes.
Peak, very good. Then there's some creepy dude hitting on Jane at the bar. I was like, "Is he coming up later?" No,
Mm-mm.
no, he's
Nope.
not.
It's just some
Um,
ambiance, a little
ambiance,
misogyny to get you through.
yeah. It really kind of bothered me that Adele is definitely not French.
Absolutely not French.
They're like pulled an American kid and they're like, yeah, act French. And she's like, oh
Oui,
oui,
oui.
monsieur.
Listen, it was 1943. There was a shortage of French people. They were fighting a war. Okay.
Yeah, I just, whenever she talked, I was like, oh my god. Um, Rochester almost killing Jane was really funny to me when he.
Mhm.
The horse scene on that one was very dramatic.
It was like they
Yeah.
really. What I would have liked to talk about is some of the things that the scenes that happen in each movie and how
Mm-hmm.
they both have very different vibes. But
Mm-hmm.
the scene where he almost runs her down, I really enjoy in both movies. Like they're
Yes.
so over the top and so like this is the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like just they are constructing a scene so that we know that this is important. And
Mm-hmm.
I think they both do that scene pretty well.
Yeah, me too. I do like that the 43 version felt very much like a horror movie, which is the vibe I wanted.
Okay, yeah. So one of the things I was gonna say is that what I did like about this movie is that they leaned into the gothic on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Thornfield is a fucking Dracula's castle.
Yes!
Like
He's
what?
got like a wing!
I was like, what is going on? Did we just like make the Dracula movie and then be like, well, we
Mm-hmm.
got the set, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been sitting here for a few years, so it's all dusty. Let's put Jane Eyre on it. Like
Mm-hmm.
like Thornfield felt like it was just some crumbling gothic ruin, which was like the vibe there is so
Mm-hmm.
different from the book. You know, for me, like
Yeah.
it's Jane Eyre is not a gothic novel in any stretch of my imagination, but like it
Mhm.
has the elements if you choose to focus on it. Like there is
Mhm.
this bad dark past that's haunting Mr. Rochester in the form of Bertha. There is this like crumbling estate that he's not managing. There is mystery, there's danger, there's murder, there's fire. Like if you focus on these things, which Orson Welles
Mhm.
did, like you can make this a legitimate gothic horror movie, and the
Mhm.
set is incredible. Like
Mhm.
Jane looking out of her little window to see the other
Yes.
wing, it's like, no, no, this isn't what Thornfield is, but it is in this movie, and I fucking love it.
I love how quickly that Rochester can go across the other wing.
he's,
He like
he's
leaves, she looks out the window and the things are there's like lights already all the way over there.
it's gotta be secret passages. Like
Oh yeah.
a crumbling ruin like that has got secret passages out the wazoo. He's probably just like pulling a candelabra, hucking himself through the little dank tunnel, and boom, there he is. That's how you get there.
The energy I was feeling with this was like when your high school has to like they're like, okay, we have Jane Eyre on Friday, but then we have Dracula on Saturday, and we can't change the sets, so they need to share.
100% yes.
Yeah.
It's a very weird, like I get what was going on. I
Mm-hmm.
get why these choices are being made, but it feels so wrong
Mm-hmm.
having just read this book. Like
Yeah.
when you are seizing the vibes, the ness, the like essence of Jane Eyre, I don't know. It feels like a big swing and a miss. Even though I love watching it, I'm like it does
Mm-hmm.
not hit at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I do like this portrayal of Jane more than I like the portrayal of the 70s Jane, though. This feels like Jane Eyre, you know?
What I like, well, what I really liked about the 1940s Jane Eyre was that she they dropped all of the sassiness. I felt like in this one,
Yes.
Jane is not like the repartee back and forth with
Mm-hmm.
Rochester, but she is this just sort of like quiet, furious presence, which is
Mm-hmm.
very Jane Eyre to me. Like,
Yeah.
just she sits there and judges, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this is Jane Eyre right here. Like, if we were to boil this down, I think that what's her name? Just so that Joan
Uh,
Fontaine, like, she did. I mean, maybe we can talk about the differences in Jane in the Janes and the Rochesters when
mm-hmm.
we've talked about both movies, but like, she really had a more like quiet, subdued presence that's still like very strong, which I
Yeah.
thought was very good.
Yeah. She gave me Vampire Child very well.
100% yes.
Yeah. Um oh. So they do in this version, they decided to confirm that Adele was his kid. Good choice.
Good choice.
Um
Yep.
I do have a note that says, "What kind of ye old language is Grace Poole using?"
I don't even know, honestly.
I don't like. They're like, "Oh yeah, Grace Poole, the witch that came with the castle." Like that's the
Right?
energy we're getting.
Which, like, listen, that's a strong, good energy to bring to a
Mhm.
character, but like, I feel like they're doing something that's like, because there are moments in Jane Eyre where Charlotte Bronte was like trying to write in the local dialect, you know? Like when
Mhm.
she's talking to the maid at Moore House, like the maid has that sort of very stilted,
Mhm.
like weird patois that Charlotte Bronte is trying to like save on the page. So, like maybe that's kind of what they were doing. It's like this is what people from this place sound like, so we're gonna put them in there so that I don't know. Or they just had a lady who was like, I'm gonna do some weird stuff. Okay,
Yeah, they like grabbed the like B-list Shakespearean actress, and they're like, "All right, go be a nurse."
you got this. Get in there. It's your time to
But
shine.
like also the her just like lurking in corridors,
Oh, she's
peak.
got a good lurk.
Oh yeah, loved that. Great energy. Um, And then I have a note that says 18 minutes left and they just proposed. How is the rest of this going to go?
Uh-huh.
They had
It's
a lot of stuff in there.
this I mean, they cut so much out of
Mm-hmm.
this movie that it does I I mean, I'll have thoughts about this, but like the ending of Jane Eyre I feel like is really hard to nail. Like
Mm-hmm.
because there's it's just this sprawling, shambling like the 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 climax of that movie or of that book is in many ways the wedding, and then we've got like 10 chapters after that.
Yeah.
Like it is a long denouement, and just like
Mm-hmm.
to take that and put it on screen, there's
Mm-hmm.
something about the plot structure that just doesn't work. And so
Yeah.
like when you're making a movie out of that, like you gotta smash that all into the last 20 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone's left going, what just happened? If you're watching the
Yep.
1943 movie, and even if you're watching the 1970 movie, you're like, uh-huh, okay,
Uh-huh.
right.
And I'll say this, I did not think that Rochester and Jane had any chemistry at all in this movie.
No, listen, it's because of Orson Welles. I am almost positive. uh Love him, love watching him. He is not a romantic lead at all.
Mm-mm.
No,
Mm-mm.
just
I felt like he was like actively kidnapping her the entire time.
yes.
And he's like, "You love me, right?" And Jane's like, You have a knife to my throat, sure."
I guess. Uh-huh. One of the conversations that Anne and I had while we, because she watched the 1940s, the 40s one with me, because we own it. Like it's a movie that she
Mm-hmm.
owns because she enjoys. And so we were watching it, and both of us were just sitting there like, God, when we were teenagers, this seemed romantic. And now we're adults and we're like, oh, this is
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. There's a couple things I have like that. I'm like, what? I'm, you like, or you show it to someone else for the first time, and you're like, oh crap.
Oh no, what have I done?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. 100%.
Or re-listening to Santa Baby as an adult, you're like, ooh, rapey.
Santa Baby's not rapey. Santa Baby is materialistic. Where is Santa Baby rapey?
Wait,
You're thinking of Baby It's Cold Outside,
yes, I am.
which
What's
is in
Santa
fact,
Baby?
which is Santa Baby is Eartha Kitt and
Hmm?
others. Santa Baby is about a grown ass woman asking Santa for a ring and the deed to a platinum mine
Oh
and
no, that's
more of
Slays.
it. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no,
so
she
good.
Slay.
All right,
Whoops.
I have to say,
Hmm.
from what I understand of the history of Baby It's Cold Outside, it's less rapey and it's more about feminine empowerment. It's about how we can't be seen to be interested in each other and we can't be seen to be sexually interested in each other. So I have to go through
Hmm.
this whole thing to be like, oh,
Mm.
oh, I have to go. Oh no.
Mm.
That being
Uh-huh.
said, listening to it on the surface, very rapey.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the subtext is true or not, but if it is true, it doesn't really redeem the
I
song
don't
all that
yeah, I
much.
don't know if it redeems it enough for me.
That's fair. It's one of my least favorite Christmas songs. Do you know the Christmas shoes?
We've had this whole
Okay.
conversation.
All right, never mind. I forget
It's
who
I
I have
think it's on the
ranted.
podcast too.
Okay, good. I have ranted at so many people about Christmas shoes and how fucking terrible that song is. I forget. I'm sorry. My brain is also melted plastic and scrambled eggs. So
But I spent most of the Christmas week uh binging really trashy like Hallmark-esque movies, and
mhm.
it brought me great joy. So
Good.
yeah.
I'm glad to hear that because that is what that time of year is for.
Hmm.
Is for
Brain?
watching Christmas
No.
garbage, turning your brain
Hmm.
off. That's it.
Hmm.
Doing
Hmm.
nothing.
Correct.
And then watching
Netflix has
Jane
put
Eyre
out some good
twice.
ones.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like there's got to be a cottage industry at this point of like shitty Christmas movies because people know. Like Hallmark has bottled lightning with shitty
Hmm.
Christmas movies, and so
Hmm.
like I think Amazon does them too.
Yeah.
I think Amazon Studios has their own too at this point. Like it is, which means we're now entering the era of the actually shitty Christmas movie. Like
Mm-hmm.
now we're at the point where the hipster gets to say, no, 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 this is all commercial bullshit. Even though Hallmark Christmas movies are also commercial bullshit, but like they are just trying to make a Christmas movie. Man, I know what Netflix is doing, and I know what Amazon is doing.
Yeah.
I see you. I see you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Listen, I did fully get my dad's YouTube login to record a movie that was given to me as a clip on TikTok where hot motorcycle man from the big city wrecks and sees a beautiful girl that like is all about Christmas and Christmas trees in her small town, and she like makes sure he gets to the hospital. And I was like, "Yeah,
Preach.
you got me. You got me.
You've roped me
I'm
in.
in."
All right,
Yeah.
motorcycle man. Let's fucking go. Let's Christmas this shit up.
Hard part is like I don't really like it's as soon as they take the helmet off, you're like, ugh! Like it's like when the beast becomes a human again. You're like disgusting.
Yeah, don't want it. Not interested.
No, put the helmet back on.
Come on. Boop boop, buddy.
Yeah, something about that safety. Yeah.
Safety is sexy, all right? So keep the helmet on.
Anyways, I can talk about Christmas movies for a while. So the fact that this is coming out January 3rd, unrelated.
Okay. That's tomorrow.
It
Well, as
is
we
tomorrow.
record. So by the time this
Oopsie
drops,
poopsie.
that will be out.
We're gonna end, and then I'm gonna like barely edit it, and then I'm gonna give it to you guys as entertainment
Excellent.
because it goes live at midnight. So, and
Woo!
it is 7:09.
All right. Let's wrap this baby up.
My favorite moment is everyone like going to go see Bertha and saying absolutely nothing and just leaving.
And just leaving. And just leaving.
So
Like,
funny.
we don't even see her.
Yeah, I was like, I thought I like blinked and missed it. I was
No.
like,
No, this is one of those choices where I'm just like, what?
yeah,
What?
yeah.
It's crazy. Like, I mean, part of it is I don't know if it's brilliant or not at the end of the day. Because, like, one of my favorite things in horror movies is when you never see the monster. Like, because your brain is going to make up something way more horrible than whatever that monster is. And so the fact that we don't see Bertha, she's like a horror movie monster, which is it's incredible. Like it's such a choice. And like really rams home that this is a horror movie that's packaged as a romance. Like it's wild.
So good. So good. I'm obsessed. Very Rebecca to me, honestly.
Extremely Rebecca, yes. And like if you don't think that Daphne du Maurier as a tiny child was like devouring Jane Eyre, you've got another thing coming.
Oh yeah, definitely. 100%. So we skip everything with her cousins and her uncle and becoming rich, and then she goes to the Reed house instead.
Yep. This is why Anne loves this movie, because she hates the St. John Rivers part in the book.
Fair.
And for a long time, I understood. Having reread it, I disagree. I think that's a really great part of the book, but is really hard to film. Like,
yeah.
This is a thing I think we should talk about when we do the 70s one, but like the Morehouse sequence is bad film. Just like straight up bad. It's not like, I think you need to be an exceptional screenwriter, director, and have an incredible stable of actors to make that work. Yeah. Unless you do it maybe episodically. But like as a film, as a movie, hot garbage. Absolute hot garbage.
This is one of the, I like most books I say should never become movies. I think everything should probably be a TV show. And this one especially, there's way too much that happens. You could make this book 3 movies easily.
I agree. Yeah.
You know,
Make
you could
it
have her
Star
time
Wars.
at Lowood.
Yep.
The time at time one at Rochester's house. Honestly, you could probably do four. Hmm, I don't know.
I mean, I
Definitely
love
could
a
do some
trilogy.
movies.
I love a trilogy. Like it,
Type
yeah,
three.
absolutely. Make it a tight 3 and we're good.
Yeah. Um.
But now we're on my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah.
The fucking French doors blowing in, the papers swirling everywhere. Jane!
So so
Jane!
dramatic.
It's so good. It's just like, the whole movie's a bit of a collapsing set at this point.
Hmm.
So yeah, let's go for it. It's fine.
Whatever. Whatever. I also had a note here that that doctor gets everywhere.
He's everywhere.
It's like,
So did you note that the doctor is Dr. Rivers?
yes, I did.
Do you think that that's a St. John stand-in?
I don't know. I don't know.
I
Because I was
spent
like,
a
what was?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I didn't couldn't remember the name of the doctor, so I was like, mm.
It's Dr. Rivers, and I spent a lot of this movie being like,
Well, no,
is
the
this supposed
OG
to be St.
doctor
John?
of
Yeah,
Jane. Is it
his name is Dr.
Doctor?
Rivers.
Oh,
It's the same guy.
okay. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
don't
I
know
was
either.
confused.
I think maybe because they cut out all of the Morehouse stuff, it's
Hmm.
just like an Easter egg. But like my brain takes that and is like, this means something. And it never plays out. So
Yeah.
spoilers.
I was just like, it's the doctor she has as a kid in like the actual book. Was his name Dr. Rivers?
No, no, it wasn't.
Okay.
So in the book, it's something else. I don't remember.
Okay.
But this,
Then
like,
I don't know what they were doing.
okay.
I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. This movie doesn't make much sense.
No, it's like, doctor at Lowood, I'm now your aunt's doctor, or I was, but she's dead. So,
And then I just show up and give you mail. So,
yeah, here's some mail. I'm a
yeah.
doctor postal carrier. Don't worry about it.
Doctor, postal carrier, attorney, whatever. Whatever you need, I'm
I
here.
wear many hats, okay?
I would be impoverished if it wasn't for the
That's right.
17 hats I wear.
This hustle gig economy of the mid Victorian, it's killing us, man.
He said freelance,
Yeah.
Apparently she was writing to Brocklehurst for her job back. I was like, what?
She's desperate. She's desperate. She didn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah, and then my next note is they really fucked up this ending. Good lord.
Truly.
And then Rochester, the house doesn't burn down in this one. He's just still there.
Yeah, it's like a wing that burned down. And
Yeah,
she's just like standing amidst the rubble.
yeah. And he's like, yeah, we could just like sequester off that one, I guess, and live in the rest. At least she's dead now.
Right.
What?
Listen, they couldn't afford a second set, okay?
He just threw a sheet over and he's like, all right, it's good.
It's fine. We just don't go in that part of the house anymore because it's mostly burned.
Mm-hmm. Smoke inhalation and, lead poisoning, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all the good stuff.
And then my last note is not the war bonds at the end.
Yeah, you too can support the fight against fascism by buying war bonds, okay?
Cackled. Absolutely cackled when I saw that.
So,
like,
how many stars does Jane Eyre 1943 get?
I would give it a solid 3 for the energy, for the goth, for the fun time that I had. It was a tight 90. Yep. I don't feel like I wasted my time. However, it doesn't make any sense at all.
No. I think if you were going to... So, I'd give it 6 stars as a horror movie.
Were we rating it out of 10?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or you were doing...
I'll stick with my 3. I was doing it.
Okay. 6 stars as a horror movie. I'll go 4 stars as as an adaptation of what it's supposed to
Hmm.
be, because truly you need to know what the story is for this movie to make any
Hmm.
through line of sense. And if you don't, then you start to think, oh, this is romantic. And that's a
Hmm.
problem.
Hmm. Yeah. It's like, I'm a good dark romance girly. So I felt like I was there for that. I'm like, should this be a love story? No.
Mm-mm.
Is it a fun time? Yes.
Yeah,
Am I a little scared? Also, yes. We're having a great time.
definitely. Hmm.
That's that's the vibe I was going with. I enjoyed it for that. Would I, if someone liked Jane Eyre, recommend this movie? No.
Um, the only reason I would recommend it is because of my personal love of Orson Welles. Other than
Fair.
that, no. If you want a good Orson Welles, go watch The Third Man. Have you seen The Third Man?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's a
Is it?
post-war. I'm gonna give you a brief rundown
That's
because
fine.
I have my masculine I'm talking about movies hat on, so I have to
I'm
be
ready.
obnoxious. I just watched the Barbie movie last night, and the jokes about The
Oh.
Godfather hit so close to home. I felt attacked and seen, and had a good time. Barbie movie was
I've never
great. I,
seen Godfather either.
it's okay. You don't need
Okay.
to.
All right. Cool. Cool.
Barbie movie though, everyone should watch the Barbie
Oh
movie.
yeah, top
That
tier.
was
Anybody
fucking
that's like,
great.
oh, I don't like the Barbie movie, like I'm kind of judging. I'm
That's a
not gonna
red
lie.
flag. That's a red
Yeah.
flag. Anyway, Third Man is set in post-war Vienna, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And it's about a guy who goes there because someone has died, and he's trying to figure out what happened. And everyone is like, "Yeah, we saw this guy die, and 2 people carried him away," or something like that. And then he finds someone who's like, 3 people carried him away. There was a third man. And so
Mm.
it's like this conspiracy for him to find out who the third man is. And it has my favorite movie line of all time, which is the Swiss had 400 years of peace. And what did they give us? The cuckoo clock. And it's all in this notion of like it's an anti-war film, but you have this character who's like, war is good. War
Mm-hmm.
gives us progress. And it's just like this very twisted worldview that when that line is delivered, it's just like, oof, right
Yeah.
in the oh. And it's Orson Welles at his smarmiest. It's really good. Highly recommend. That was another movie Anne made me watch. I had never seen it, and I was like, this is brilliant. So props to Anne, who knew about this movie and showed it to me.
Yeah. Big thumbs up. Give Anne a solid fist bump for
Done.
this movie. Appreciate it.
So let's talk about George
I
C. Scott, right?
Yeah. So we're on to the 97 1970s version is what I meant to say. Um I am going to just get into it by they cast the most beautiful woman to play Jane Eyre, and the
Right?
entire time they're like, "Wow, you're so ugly." Like, imagine looking at Megan Fox and be like, "All right, Megan, listen, you're the dump." You know, is that what that's
Yes.
called? Is that what that's called? Duff, the Duff. You know,
The, I'm sorry.
is that what that's
The
called?
what are you? I don't know what you're referring to.
It stands for something. They even made a
Oh,
movie about it. Hold on, let me make sure I'm saying the right thing because I don't want Duff meaning.
it's a beer from Springfield, Illinois.
Yeah, designated ugly fat friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like that's
Never heard this
they're
term.
yeah. So they're basically picking like the hottest. Like they had a line of actresses, I'm sure. Like everybody's like average looking, and then they're like, "Hey, hot girl,
Right.
yeah, we're gonna make fun
You.
of you for a movie."
Hmm. And like, listen, Joan Fontaine, also an attractive woman. Like
Mm-hmm.
both of the Jane Eyres, they're not ugly.
No,
They're
but
not
like
ugly at all.
they didn't. I don't think they roasted her looks nearly as much. They called her average
Yeah.
maybe once, but this one they're like, "You are disgustingly ugly." Even Adele calls her ugly.
Yep. No, and it's like, You have an extremely beautiful woman on screen. What are you doing?
Yeah, and like every time they call her ugly, it's like a light is on her face and like the wind's blowing, and it's just like I'm like, yeah, okay, like, and she's got like these beautifully waxed eyebrows, and I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever.
Sure, plain. Uh-huh.
Yeah, very much like 70s version of let's make women feel bad about themselves is what I felt like was going on. So,
It I'm wondering if there's a certain aspect of the, since I just watched the Barbie movie, of the take off
hmm
your glasses and you'll just be pretty, like
hmm
sort of vibe. It's like she's just pretty, man.
yeah,
She's just pretty. Like, what are you
yeah.
doing?
And also, I didn't feel like she was Jane. Like she felt like
Mm,
Mary Poppins to me, you know?
interesting. I thought there were some bits of Jane that she did really well.
Mhm.
Like again, that like banter with Rochester,
Yes.
and I thought that she, like in her conversation with Brocklehurst at the very beginning, like the first
Mhm.
scene that we see her when she's at Helen Burns's grave, and
Mhm.
Brocklehurst is like, "The governors would like you to stay," and she's like, "Fuck you,"
Yeah.
like no bones
Peak.
about it. Like that, like she's got that sort of self assurance of Jane Eyre,
Mhm.
but the problem is she has it at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like Jane Eyre at the end has that sort of like fuck everything. Like
Mhm.
I'm me, take it or leave it. I'm not going to deal with all of your bullshit. But that's not where
Yes.
she starts. And so they've
Mhm.
already like crystallized this character, and we don't see growth. And I think that's my problem with her. That's
Yeah.
my problem with her characterization of Jane, is that she is mostly the same throughout
Mhm.
the movie, which that's not who Jane is, and that's not why the book
Yeah.
is interesting. The book is interesting because of the change in her, and you
Yeah.
don't get
Like
that on screen.
we didn't get any of her like meekness at all. Like even
Mm-mm.
when she was at Lowood, she was like, "And I will kill everybody in this place. I will
Yes,
fight anyone." Like
God, let me fight him. Let me at him.
literally, literally. Like yeah, I don't know. But I liked it. I think also I don't know if it's because of the way I was watching it, but it felt like the 43 version was drastically more preserved than this one was. Like I felt like I was watching it on a grain of salt.
Right. So the the issue we're running into is that the 43 is a Hollywood movie.
Okay.
The 70s, the 1970 version is a British television. It's like a British TV
Mm,
movie. And so it
okay.
has like just British TV of this time period
Mhm.
has that look because of the
Okay.
technology that they were using. So like the first thing I noticed about this movie, it's fucking dark. And
Yeah.
I don't mean like grim or like like I mean it is literally underexposed. I don't know
Mhm.
filmed, but like there is no contrast to it. Like the dark scenes are almost invisible at times, and the
Yeah.
bright scenes are so washed out. But it's because of the technology that they were using,
Mhm.
and I guess it just hasn't been restored or enhanced or whatever.
Yeah. Like
And
I
maybe,
sat in a
oh,
dark room to watch this, to be
mhm.
honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to, and I think that's one of. It's not a critique of the movie for me, but
Mhm.
it's very like it's a very specific time period that you're watching, and just like seeing
Mhm.
that, I was like, even if I didn't know when this was, I'd be like, okay, this is
Mhm.
60s 70s British TV, got it, all
Yeah.
right, done. What I do think, what I really like about it, and this is, so like there is that graininess, there's that harshness to it. They
Mhm.
showed the moors, like
Mhm.
we saw the landscape, and it felt like the 40s movies. You don't get the moors, you don't get
Mm-mm.
that like landscape aspect to it that's so important to the book. But I thought they, like, just by accident, the fact that the movie looks this way really
Mhm.
reinforces like the bleakness of northern England. Like it,
Mhm.
like there, it added something for me to like
Mhm.
see this like scrub and heath in this like very stark weird way. Anyway.
Yeah. So good. I loved it. Let's get into some of the chronological stuff, though. So we skip over the Reeds family. No great laws. Was not mad. Very cool with it.
No, I think it's an interesting opening. Just
Yeah.
like, get thee to Lowood, Jane Eyre. Okay.
Like you have to cut something for time, and I don't mind cutting that.
No, I mean, I think you're like, there's going to be heavy focus on what a shitty childhood Jane Eyre had anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reason the Reeds are in the first movie is so that Jane can go back to their house.
Yeah.
Like, because in this one, Jane never goes back to the Reeds. Like, there's no
Yeah.
plot line that's important there, so we don't need it. And honestly,
Yeah.
I think it's a good choice. I agree. I agree.
Yeah. I think we can just sum it up with they're terrible, and I'm cool with it.
Right. Brocklehurst has some throwaway line about like how Jane Eyre's aunt is a benefactor of the school, and that's why she's here. And we're like, okay,
Yeah. I
what
was like,
kind
all
of
right,
aunt would
whatever.
put her ward in a place like this? Well, we know.
Yeah. And then she like throws away a line where she's like, "Oh, they're terrible and like the worst people alive, and I would rather be here than there." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." They were actively trying to kill Helen in this though.
Oh my god. Okay, so that's another thing in both movies. In both
Mm-hmm.
movies, they're like, Helen Burns, get outside in the cold rain, which I think is interesting because in the book, obviously, she just like has TB and dies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting that both movies are like, we are going to take Helen Burns and we're going to make her a sacrifice to how terrible these
Mm-hmm.
schools are. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the school is a bad guy in the book because of neglect. Because they
Yeah.
just, but like in both of these movies, they're like, the school is actively murdering children. And I'm like, you know what?
And neither of them get rid of Brocklehurst.
No!
like, like the school board's like, yeah, kill another kid. Like,
Do it again! Which, hey, we got some social commentary. I'm for it,
good.
because these places suck, and we should acknowledge as such.
Fair enough. Um, in this one, Jane has the curly hair that they have to cut, and they're
Yep.
like, "Yeah, Jane, your hair is so curly," and I'm like, "What?
Nope.
Nope."
Nope. I do like, and I think because they cut her hair, and then when she's
Mm-hmm.
talking to Brocklehurst, she's like, "I've never forgiven and I've never forgotten," and I think
Yeah.
she's talking about her hair, like, because it's the school teacher who's like, Helen Burns, you got to go stand outside and aggravate your tuberculosis. But like, apart from being just the worst, like, what does Brocklehurst do to her except cut her hair? And that's super petty of Jane, and I'm here for it. She's like, you cut my hair, you motherfucker. So get out, get behind
She's
me,
like, "I grew
Satan.
that for a year, bitch." It's like,
Right.
I don't know. It's
It's a choice that was made.
it's a choice, and I'm here for it. It's fine. Like it's just.
Yep.
I just laughed when he's like, "It's so curly," and they're like, "We can't get it up in this bun."
Right. It's like, it naturally waves, and I'm like, I see zero wave. I see
Yeah,
zero wave.
they were
Okay,
like
fine.
scrunching it really quick for the scene. Like
We got to make this hair do something that isn't be limp.
they're like curling it with like a beach waver real quick.
A thing I forgot to add, or I forgot to mention in the 43 version, did you see who played Helen Burns? Or did you notice who played Helen Burns in the
No,
1943 Jane Eyre?
I don't think so.
Elizabeth Taylor. She's a very famous film actress.
Mm,
She had purple eyes. She's married all the time. She's a very beautiful woman. She's in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Great movie.
I haven't seen that either.
Okay. And listeners who know who Elizabeth Taylor is, she plays Helen Burns in the 1943 Jane Eyre. She's like 12 years old. It's great. Anyway.
This one, Helen doesn't know she's gonna die though, which kind of makes this worse for me.
Yeah, we don't get the like angelic Helen. We get the Helen who's like, I'm gonna go home and it's gonna be fine. And it's like,
Yeah,
yep,
I
that
do
sucks.
like that neither of them showed Helen actually like dead. they just kind of like transitioned to the gravesite, and I was like, fair.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't need dead children on the screen. Thank you. That's fine.
um Oh, and this one, the cackling starting the second she like walks into the bedroom.
Immediate. It's immediate. I love it.
Like it felt like Mrs. Fairfax is like, yeah, let's go put our new governess right underneath.
And this movie gives the distinct impression that Mrs. Fairfax knows.
Yeah,
Like in the
for
book,
sure.
it's questionable. Like, does Mrs.
Mm-hmm.
Fairfax know? I don't know. She's just like a batty old lady. But in this one, it's like she's totally in on it, or she totally knows what's going on and does
Yeah,
nothing.
I
Like,
know. I was like, and then I have the note that I feel like Jane does not feel haunted enough, or something just about her feels very off.
hmm,
She's so like sunshiny, and that just doesn't feel Jane to me.
she does lack like
Grit.
the melancholy. Like, I think
Yeah.
there's something about Jane that, like, maybe Joan Fontaine got all the melancholy of Jane Eyre, and
Mm-hmm.
is it Samantha York who's Jane Eyre in this one?
I couldn't tell you.
I'm gonna Google this again. Susanna York. I feel like she's
Mm.
feisty Jane. Like, she took Jane Eyre
Yeah.
and was like, I'm gonna make her feisty. I'm gonna make her witty. I'm gonna make her just like a powerhouse. And
Mm-hmm.
right from the beginning. And like, again, I don't hate that characterization, but that's
No.
later Jane to me. That's not
Yeah.
Jane waking up in the middle of the night and hearing cackling in her outside of her bedroom door and being like, "Who the fuck is there?"
Literally. Yeah. I mean I like it, but it just doesn't feel Jane. Which whatever. You still got me with this movie. I'm still
100%.
there.
Yep.
Um I like that they had drastically more chemistry in this.
Mm, yes.
Chemistry was like up to 100%.
It was there was I mean, it wasn't a high bar to clear compared to the
No.
other movie. It was just like, do these two like each other as human beings? Great. Okay. Yeah.
These two felt like they would bang in a closet at a Christmas party, you
I
know?
could see it. Yep.
Yeah.
George C. Scott
So,
has that sort of feral energy about him as
mm-hmm.
Rochester, which we didn't really talk about how you felt about Orson Welles as Rochester, besides he feels a little kidnappy.
Little kidnapping and like just I don't know. I just didn't love it.
I feel like he was trying too hard to brood,
Yeah. Maybe
whereas
that's what
George
it
C.
was.
Scott was not. I feel like he was acting like Orson Welles was acting. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know that George C. Scott was acting in terms of like, I don't think he was trying to overdo it. I thought he was.
Yeah.
So this is 1970, by the way. This is the same year that he did Patton, which he won the Oscar for Best Actor for Patton and turned
Mm-hmm.
it down.
Why?
He had this idea that you shouldn't compare acting, that like each person's craft was their own and they couldn't be compared to others, which I think is like,
All right.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So, but like, this is the same year that he wins the Academy
That's
Award for
wild.
Best Actor, and he's like in this British TV show or this British made-for-TV movie,
That's wild.
being Rochester, just hamming it up, but in a good way.
Yeah. I know. I loved this. I like this. Like, I liked his interpretation a lot.
No, like
Because it
he
felt
did.
like,
Go ahead.
sorry, like with the 43 version, it just kind of felt like flat. Like it just, something about it, I just felt like he wasn't even a person. He wasn't really, I don't
My
know.
The thing I think that strikes me most about the 40s movie is that there are two characters in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's Jane and Rochester. and so we really only get him interacting with Jane, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Like, and so we
Mm-hmm.
don't get the sort, like in the 70s movie, he's like yelling at Adele, he's like snapping at Mrs. Fairfax, and it's like, okay, yeah. So like we see Rochester as this like jackass, which is what he is, you know? We
Mm-hmm.
see him being mean to people, and therefore we get the brooding, we get the sort of like sarcastic side of him that we don't get in the 40s version, because the only person he's talking to is Jane. He
Mm-hmm.
talks to Blanche like twice, and he's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Are you going to go away, right away with me?" That's my Orson Welles. It's really bad. I'm sorry.
It was spot on. I couldn't tell a difference.
Whereas the 70s Rochester, like he has a breadth of interaction, and George C. Scott is a good enough actor that we see a different side of him than the
Mm-hmm.
one that we see when he's with Jane, and I think that gives him depth.
Yeah, like I feel like the 43 version, it's just like if you came across a fisherman who's like forgot to speak to people for a while,
Mm.
that's the Rochester energy we're getting.
Yeah, and that's not interesting because this is a
Mm-mm.
movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I liked this interpretation of their relationship a lot more, but it felt very like almost Pride and Prejudice-y, you know?
Hmm, I can
Like,
see that.
yeah, it felt like they just kind of were like, this is a romance novel. And I was like, kinda.
It certainly has parts of that, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I
Like, I
do
just kind of
think
felt
they,
like we lost the Jane Eyre-ness of it.
yeah, I get what you're saying. Like it is, even while the 40s movie is just about their relationship and therefore
Mm-hmm.
should be a romance movie, it's a horror movie as we said, but like this
Mm-hmm.
one is like trying a little too hard to be a romance movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Oh, and then I have another note on here where this one, Bertha, like, tried to frame Jane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, Bertha was portrayed very differently in this. I felt like she was portrayed as, like, actually being kidnapped. You know? Like, she was, like,
Mm.
locked in a closet and trying to escape. Like, not really crazy, if that makes sense.
I mean, they did portray her, you know, like, I mean, she does attack him, but then like
Mm
starts cuddling him. So there is like a like, I think they tried to make her seem unhinged, but I
hmm. Mm
don't
hmm.
know that the actress who was doing it did all that great of a job. So I think it kind of fell flat.
Yeah.
Another weird thing I was going to bring up is that like they try and do some weird like Rochester apology in this one, where like
Yeah.
Rochester is like, drain the field because we got to have workers who can like actually do things so they don't starve. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, okay.
Right? He's like, I don't care how much it costs. Drain the field so people can use it. And I'm like, mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Oh,
Sure.
uh-huh. Sure. I did not buy it for a minute. Not a
No.
minute.
No. They're like, we have to make him seem like loving.
Right. It's like, no, you
No.
don't. You
No.
don't.
He
That's
can
the
be
whole
the
point.
worst.
Right. The whole joy of this is Rochester is the worst.
Mhm.
Until we meet
Mhm.
St. John, who is actually the worst. As
Also, I
always.
thought Rochester was hotter than St. John. So,
In this one? Well, I guess
mhm.
there was no St. John in the other one. George C. Scott is an interesting looking guy. I don't know that he's handsome, but I don't think he's bad looking.
I just thought the St. John, I didn't think he was that hot. I don't know.
He
Could be
also
my
doesn't.
taste.
My other problem with St. John in this movie is that he's in one of my other favorite movies of all time, which is Waking Ned
Mm.
Devine, which I may have talked about. But in that movie, he's like 40 years older. Um,
Mm.
well, 30. But he's like an old man in that one. And so, like,
Mhm.
that's what I'm used to seeing him as. And so that's what I have in my head. So maybe then I'm like, meh.
Fair. I just felt like he was very square.
His walk. Did you see, like, did you catch his walk? it
I
boggled, like it
was.
blew my mind. It was like clockwork. He was like stomping but not. It was
Mhm.
the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
So I also have to talk about the walk of the girl that plays Jane Eyre. Um, because have you ever seen the actress that plays Meredith in Grey's Anatomy?
No.
Her walk.
Mm-mm.
So they specifically don't film her walking because she like hold on, let me just find this for you really quick and then I'm gonna
Okay.
send it to you because this is important context for you to know. Can I send you a TikTok? Is that fine? That's how she walks all the time.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think Jane Eyre has something similar going on?
When she's walking through the moors, it looks just like that.
Okay. I mean, I agree. But she's walking through the moors. No one looks normal when they're walking through the
I
moors.
just like they're like trying to like make her seem like she's like dying basically.
Yes.
And she's like like doing the Meredith Grey walk, you know? I couldn't take it seriously the
That's
whole
fair.
time.
I mean, I also did not take that seriously because any person just like stumbling through the moors and then she wakes up and has got like makeup caked on her face to
Hell
make her
yeah.
look like she's dirty. Like, what is going on?
Yeah. Oh, I I did also have to mention that whenever they held something by candlelight, they like put a
The
spotlight on them.
spotlight. Yes. And then the spotlight would move around. Oh my god. The production,
It's so
listen, the
funny.
production value on this, bad. Not good.
Yeah,
But you know what? It's charming. So
it's
I don't
fine.
care.
It works. It's so funny. Um, I liked the Blanche moments in this.
Yeah.
Kind of made it for me. It was really good.
Yeah, I feel like in the other one, Blanche wasn't much, again, not much of a character. Like, just sort
Mm-mm.
of showed up for a bit. But this one was real. She was a real bee. And I
Mm-hmm.
appreciated that about her.
As she should be.
Right. I expect Blanche to be a bit of a bee.
Mm-hmm. So good. Um, Oh, and then she sees fully Bertha get shoved into an attic. It's asked no questions.
Zero questions. Zero questions. Like, come on, Jane.
Like she sees like this dude like basically mauled and just Rochester's like, get in there, get in there.
Get in the cupboard.
And Jane's like, yeah, that's normal.
I
Whatever.
mean, she did go to Lowood where people were probably shoved in closets all the time. So,
So I liked the cute wedding dress she got. I thought that was great.
mhm.
Very cute. She didn't just have to get married in a frock. Always appreciated.
Frock, one of my favorite words. It's, I don't know why. It just, it sounds exactly like what it is.
Fair, fair. Um, uh, I also I cackled because when he like brings Jane back to the house after like the wedding's off, he closes the door on her dress.
Yes,
I don't know if it was intentional, but if
I
it
like to
wasn't, it
think
makes it
not.
better.
Yeah, I
I
like to think that was an accident.
Yeah, I also really liked Rochester talking to himself. I thought that was iconic. When everyone like leaves the room and he's like
Yeah.
talking about Bertha and he's like, you would not imagine the horrors, and everyone's already gone.
They're already gone. I think it. I think this portrayal of Rochester is somehow more unhinged. Like there
Yeah.
is like, and this is Orson Welles, who is one of the most unhinged human beings of all time. Like the fact that he can't get to where George C. Scott got with his unhingedness is
Mm-hmm.
astonishing to me. But it's so good.
So good. And then she just pretty much immediately departs and he like runs into her room. He's like, Jane, Jane.
Jane.
Yeah.
The scene where he's like, Jane, please wait a while. Jane, wait a while. Again, watching that with Anne, and she's just like, there's some big subdom energy in this scene right now. Just
Iconic.
so good.
And then Sinjin giving me the biggest ick of all
Mm,
time.
huge ick.
Huge ick. They're not cousins in this though, at least. So
That's true. They cut that bit out. Jane does not. She does not become rich in this one either.
yeah, what the heck, man.
What the heck? Let
Oh, like
Jane be rich.
let her be loaded. She deserves that.
She's been through a lot, okay?
Yeah, she's gonna have to live in a gothic manor.
Right. Partially burned down, maybe. I don't know.
Who's to say?
This Thornfield fully
Um,
burned down.
yeah, yeah. Also, the way they decided to display him being blind is with his eyes closed the entire time. I was like,
Yep,
what?
that was a choice.
I'm like, blind people don't have their eyes closed all the time.
Well,
Do you know
maybe it
that?
was maybe when the flaming thing hit his face, it closed his eyes, and that's why he's blind. Can't open them.
You know that audio where it's like, do you know that? It's important to me that you know that. That's how I felt.
Yes.
Because I was like, choice, but okay. Still like this version more.
I did
So,
too. At the end of the
yeah.
day, I liked that the other characters were more fleshed out.
Mm-hmm.
I liked I liked the Moors. I liked the relationship between Jane and Rochester more.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think the Jane I think the actress who played Jane is probably the letdown of this movie.
Yeah.
Which
And I
is
don't know.
she's a good actress. She like
Yeah.
but there's some beat that's missing. I don't know.
I don't think it's necessarily even her fault, you know?
Mhm.
Like, I think it's just written. Like, they made her so sunshiny, and I didn't like it. Like,
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. As an
I
actor,
was
you
like,
can
where's
only
the
do
trauma?
yeah, because we saw it. We saw
Yeah.
significant trauma, and she
Mm-hmm.
just like rose above it.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's just like, you cut my hair. I don't forget or forgive. Fuck you. I'm out. Like, all
Yeah.
right.
Like, in Vampire Diaries? Have you
No,
seen Vampire Diaries? No.
no.
Never mind.
Shh.
For everyone else, the blonde girl in Vampire Diaries, I can't remember the name of, the friend that becomes a vampire, that energy. But they try to make it Jane Eyre, so I don't know. I didn't like it. Didn't land.
Yeah, Jane did not land in this one.
Yeah.
That is to say, I don't think Jane landed super well in the '40s version either. But it's just that
No.
she was better than Rochester.
Yeah.
Like Orson Welles as Rochester was not doing it for me.
Yeah. What did Anne think of the '70s version? Did she like
She
it?
came in halfway through because
Ah,
I started watching right when I got off work.
okay, fair.
But there was a significant amount of eye rolling at the St. John Rivers stuff, which is fair because
Fair.
ugh, because
Yeah.
big yuck. The the other so what I really wanted to talk about was how one of the things I don't like about this movie
Mm-hmm.
is that it leaves out St. John getting his comeuppance.
Yeah.
Like
Like,
if
let him die.
right, if you're going to include that character, it's not enough to leave him bereft on the moors because he's a
No.
fanatic and that doesn't mean
Yeah.
anything to him. But to
Yeah.
have him die in India
Alone.
alone, yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's like that character needs that ending. And so to
Mm-hmm.
have like this is the problem of the Morehouse generally is that it adds characters that we don't really care about
Mm-hmm.
to the end of a book where what we care about is what happens with Jane and Rochester.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get like what happened to them and whatever. But like
Mm-hmm.
the only reason I want to see St. John in this movie is so that he can die
Correct.
horribly after being a
Correct.
piece of shit.
Correct.
And that's why I don't think the Morehouse section is like filmable in a movie
Mm-hmm.
way, because it's so much of the book, but like to tack that on to the end of a movie makes like adds an extra hour and a half if you want to do it right. And so
Mm-hmm.
then you've just got this like weird flurry of, oh, he's weird and he wants her to go to India, and she's not.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, what is the point of this? And we know what the point is. The point is that this is where Jane has her actual personal growth in the book. But
Mm-hmm.
again, she's already apparently had that growth.
Yeah.
It's already happened. And so, like, the point of this is to just drag out the fact that she's away from Thornfield, which, the 40s
Yeah.
movie did that better.
I think so.
Anne is
I
right.
just.
You don't need the St. John Rivers bits if you're not going to do them justice. And the only way you can do them justice is a separate movie or as a TV show.
Correct. Those were the movies.
Those were the two movies. What did you rate this one out of 10?
This one I'm going to give a strong 7.
This one's also a 7 for me.
Yeah. I think as a movie, it's great. I think you can watch this without ever having read the book and you'll enjoy it.
Yes, that is also clutch. Like, you do not need backstory on this
Mm-hmm.
to watch this movie. It makes sense as a narrative arc.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I like a feisty, not Jane.
Yeah.
I always love a feisty female lead, so
Yes, what she did lean into is the like feminist empowerment message
mm-hmm.
of the book. That is there. Like
Mm-hmm.
that message is in that book, but it takes
A
Jane a while to
while.
get there. And that's my general complaint is
Yeah.
we don't see the growth.
Like,
But I've said that before.
I like it, not Jane.
I
You
agree.
know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
So,
movie. It's not Jane Eyre.
correct. So, next we're going to be reading The Wide Sargasso Sea, and I am excited.
I'm so excited. I am a quarter of the way through as we speak. Yeah, but
Cool.
I do really hope you like that book, and I'm really interested to hear what you have to think, what you have to say about it, because the last time I read it, I was 17 years old, and I'm now a 35-year-old man. So we will see how well my child brain remembers what happened in this book, and if it does in fact hold up. But I think it does.
Fair enough. So we will catch you all in 2 weeks because that's our new schedule.
Woo!
Because I'm a busy lady. And I'm excited because we're going to talk about our main woman, Bertha.
Bertha. Finally getting to hear Bertha's voice. And you know what? I'm ready. And I hope the listeners are ready.
Yeah, get ready. Read it if you don't want spoilers. If you don't mind spoilers, we'll catch you in 2 weeks.
And it is not a long book. It is not nearly as long as Jane Eyre. It's like 200 pages. It's not bad at all. No. It's absolutely digestible.
Hopefully 1 episode.
We're gonna do it in 1 episode. We're gonna do it in 1 episode. We're gonna do it.
I believe in us.
I do too.
15 episodes later, we're like, what happened?
Why did we? What is? There isn't even 15 chapters in this book.
We just can't stop talking to each other, man.
We need a new book.
Yeah, The Shining. That's our new book.
That's our new book. You heard it here first.
Mm-hmm.
Or you didn't, if this gets edited out.
TBD. But we'll catch you all in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.